is going on, everybody? It is your boy, your man, Stokes. Camel 331. Back at it with another video, and today we are doing yet another toxic tier list ranking. Oh yeah. And today we are going to be doing a tier list ranking of all the Planet of the Apes movies, including Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. But before we get into actual beginning of the video, what's up, guys? Don't forget to subscribe if you're new to the channel. Because number one, it's absolutely freedom. But you're on the road to 1,000 subscribers, just 298 away now. Really help out your boy if you did subscribe. And also maybe help with the YouTube algorithm, recommend the video to more people. Maybe they could join the toxic fam. And also do feel free to comment your list down below. And if you guys have missed my ranking that I posted yesterday, it is on the channel. And also my Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes review, it is also on my channel. Both that being said, guys, before we start ranking things, oh, I just moved this, don't mind that. Here are the tiers. So we have best of the best, which means they're one of the best Planet of the Apes movies, or they are the best Planet of the Apes movies, and maybe some of them are among my favorites of all time. Great means it's still a great movie, it's just there's like a minor flaw holding it back from going to best of the best. Toxic goodness means it was good. It's a very solid Planet of the Apes movie. Okay means it was alright, but like it overall is a mixed bag. There was some stuff I liked about it, and then there was some stuff I didn't like about it. And then toxic trash means dumpster fire, the worst Planet of the Apes movies. Excuse me, that's a burp. So first up, we have the original Planet of the Apes. And the original Planet of the Apes, I mean, it's a classic for a reason. It goes into the great tier. Why I don't put it in best of the best is because I think the later, spoiler alert for the later part of the video, I think the newer movies are way more, like, amazing than this one was. But don't get me wrong, it's still a great movie. It's just, the later on movies overshadow this one because how great they are. And also this one, like, some aspects don't really age much. I mean, don't really age well. Like, specifically, like, maybe the makeup effects. They still look great, don't get me wrong. But, we've seen a little bit better, and also, it's just a little bit dated. But it's still a great Planet of the Apes movie. You got Charlton Heston in here, giving a great performance that is dated to compared to acting nowadays, but it's still amazing for the time for what he was able to pull off in his role. Then you also had the iconic twist ending at the end of the movie that is one of the most shocking twist endings to a movie of all time. And yeah, it's an overall great movie. I will put it in the great tier. It's close to best of the best, but it's great. Then we got Beneath the Planet of the Apes. And this is probably the only movie I'll put in this category. Toxic Trash. This is my least favorite Planet of the Apes movie. And even as a kid, when I rarely disliked any movie, I watched that and went like to my dad, is that just me or was that one bad? And then he said, yeah, I didn't like that one either. And it was very odd that I disliked it at that time. I still dislike it. It's basically just a repeat of the first film. They have a new character that looks exactly like Charlton Heston. They might have done that on purpose. I don't know. He goes through the same thing his character does, and basically a little bit later on into the film, they go beneath the Planet of the Apes and find this. I don't know. It's been a while since I've seen the movie, but they go down this underground, go into the undergrounds and find that a cult of monkeys worshipping like weapons and rockets and stuff from the human race. It was just really weird. And then you also had Charlton Heston pop back up again, but it was only for like 5 minutes of screen time, and they killed his character, which absolutely was stupid how they killed him off. And yeah, overall, it's just a bad movie. The only movie on this tier that I would say is a bad movie. Then now we have Escape from the Planet of the Apes. And originally I got the titles of these movies confused, Escape and beneath, but luckily I double checked. And Escape from the Planet of the Apes, I will put in the toxic goodness tier. It is a good Planet of the Apes movie. This is probably the most light-hearted Planet of the Apes movie until it takes a very dark turn later on in the movie in the final act where it's not happy anymore. So, you have Cornelius, and I forgot what his wife's name was, but they're in the previous two movies, and they end up going into... I don't know if they use, like, a time machine or whatever. They go to Earth, basically. Or, yeah, I think they used a time machine. And basically, the whole entire movie might as well just be a family movie where they're living in society among the humans. And then later on in the movie, it takes a dark turn where the humans eventually find out in the apes' future world that the apes kind of rule the world, basically. So they end up turning on them and trying to kill them. So, and then they gave birth to Caesar in this movie, and that's where it leaves off. They eventually save Caesar, but Cornelius and his wife end up dying. So that was a pretty dark turn from, like, such a lighthearted movie until then. And, it's good. It's just, there wasn't, it's just such a drastic change with how it was so lighthearted, then it went to so dark at the same time. So it was good. It's a good Planet of the Apes movie. Next up, we got Conquest for the Planet of the Apes, and this one I have a little bit lower than Escape from the Planet of the Apes, but I still think it's good. Rise of the Planet of the Apes took a lot of liberties from this one, and you can definitely see why, because this definitely back in the time probably would be like one of the best sequels to the Planet of the Apes, the original Planet of the Apes movie back in the day. But this one, I think it has kind of like the same problem with the original Planet of the Apes and Escape. It doesn't really hold up as well, but it's still really good, where instead of Caesar living in modern day society, this version of Caesar basically is in a future where the monkeys are the new pet because, well, the chimpanzees, apes, whatever. The apes are the new pets because all the dogs and cats died, all the dogs and cats died in that world for some interesting idea. So they're the new pets, and they eventually decide to break free and attack the humans and all that. Yeah, it's good. It's good. It's just, it doesn't hold up as well as the other movies above it, I think. And I'll put it... No, I think I would rather watch Escape from the Planet of the Apes more than Conquest of the Planet of the Apes. Next up, we have Battle for the Planet of the Apes. Now, to be honest, this is probably the most forgettable Planet of the Apes movies on this list, and I'll put it in okay. Because originally I had no clue that they had a sequel right after Conquest, and they did. And when I finally got the Blu-ray pack of all the Planet of the Apes movies, finally watched it, and it was alright. Sort of similar to what happened with Conquest of the Planet of the Apes, where Rise took a lot of liberties from it. I would say War and Dawn definitely took some liberties from this and definitely improved on it. It's alright. There's some moments that I think are interesting where they try to have a character that's like Koba, try to basically prove Caesar wrong and show that humans are bad. There's also a couple dark moments in here. I remember infamously that's embroiled in my brain. Caesar's son dies, so that was pretty dark. And other than that, like I said before, it's one of the most probably the most forgettable Planet of the Apes movie on this list, and I can't remember anything besides that, so that's not really a good sign. So it goes into the okay tier. Next up, we got Planet of the Apes from 2001, which I do believe is directed by Tim Burton. If not, Tim Burton produces this, or it has some sort of association with this movie. And this one, yeah, I think he does direct it, by the way. I think it's okay. Yeah, that's fine. This is the Planet of the Apes movie I grew up on first, as Mark Wahlberg in it. Also has Tim Roth, Michael Clark Duncan, trying to think of Helena Bonham Carter's in it. It actually has a whole lot of people in here. The getting the positives out of the way, I think the makeup effects for the actual apes looks fantastic and even better than the original Planet of the Apes movies, which that might be a hot take, I don't know. But the makeup in here is amazing. I thought Tim Roth as the big bad of this movie, I thought he was pretty good in here. I don't know what the character's name is, but well, that's not really a good sign either. So second most forgettable Planet of the Apes movie on here. It also has a cameo appearance. Well, you can't tell it's him, but Charlton Heston in like one of his last roles is in this movie, playing Tim Roth's character's dying dad, I'm pretty sure. So that was pretty interesting when we eventually rewatched it. My dad told me, "Oh, that's the dude from the original Planet of the Apes." I was going like, "Oh, that's interesting." All the other acting, it's okay. It's not any of the other actors' best performances. I can tell you that one for sure. And cannot really think of anything else. The negatives wise, it basically is the original movie over again, but they added some little aspects where they were in space for a little bit, but that's pretty much it. And then the twist ending's basically the same as the original one, but they have Tim Roth's villain character after he's... I forgot if he died or is he just scared in a chamber or something like that. But I remember that they had the statue of... They had Abraham Lincoln's statue in Washington be him instead, and basically Mark Wahlberg ends up being captured by all the apes. So, it's okay. It's okay. Not nearly one of Tim Burton's best. I can tell you that one for sure. Now we move on to the newer movies. So we move on to Rise of the Planet of the Apes, which I said before takes a lot of liberties from Conquest of the Planet of the Apes, and it definitely improved on them quite a bit. I'm going to put it in the great tier, and I'll tell you why I don't put it in best of best, because this one, I think, it's still a great movie, don't get me wrong, but like, if I had a little problem with it, I'd probably say they don't really give us a clear explanation as to why Caesar, more specifically, would attack the humans, even though James Franco is one of the humans. I never understood why he would want to attack them. But the other apes I understand, because most of them were pretty brutally tortured. So, and then also, I think this one, the CGI is probably the weakest out of the four new movies, but it's still fantastic CGI. So, yeah, it goes into the great tier for that. Also, you got James Franco in here, as I mentioned before. He's a very great human character in here that you definitely root for, and you don't mind following his story. Also, John Lithgow plays his dad in here, too, which he has a pretty good character and definitely helps elevate James Franco's character's arc a little bit. And this starts one of the greatest movie character arcs in general with Caesar. So Caesar is definitely, for me, one of the best movie characters of all time. Number 3 for me, behind Indiana Jones and Chucky. Well, Indiana Jones is number 1, then Chucky, but he easily has one of the best. This is the start of one of the best movie character arcs, if that makes sense. So it goes into the great tier. It is a great movie, and it does a great job of increasing the stuff that happened in Conquest of the Planet of the Apes. Now we move on to Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. And you guys know, if you guys watch my ranking, this is my favorite Planet of the Apes movie, and it is going immediately right into best of the best for me. This is among my this isn't just my favorite Planet of the Apes movie. It is among my favorite movies of all time. It is easily in at least the top 15. I love this movie to death. The CGI in here is amazing. Andy Serkis, I forgot to mention this with Rise of the Planet of the Apes. Both in my ranking yesterday and today. But Andy Serkis does a phenomenal job at the motion capture work for Caesar in all of these movies. Also, Toby Kebbell does a great job with the motion capture as well for Koba. He did phenomenal with that. They had a great dynamic between Koba and Caesar, where Caesar is more open towards ideas with humans, and then Koba is totally against it because Koba got basically tortured by humans, and Caesar never got that treatment. So you totally understand where Koba's coming from. Then Koba eventually becomes the villain of the movie, and I think he's up there for probably at least my top 3 favorite movie villains of all time, because you do understand where he's coming from. You don't necessarily like him, but you definitely understand where he's coming from. The human characters in here, not that bad. You don't mind following them. They're pretty good characters. Also, Gary Oldman for the human villain. I thought, he's a bad person, but you kind of understand where he's coming from because he had a tragic backstory with his family dying to this whole entire virus and stuff. And that final act of this movie with Caesar and Koba fighting was a great final act, and I love this movie to death. I could go on and on about it, to be honest with you, but for video's sakes, I'm gonna stop right there. Best of the best, and among my top 15 favorite movies of all time. Love Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. Next up, we got War for the Planet of the Apes, and this one's a tricky one, because it's stuck in between 2 categories, and it's nowhere near there. It's tough because I have I'm gonna put it in best of the best. War for the Planet of the Apes goes in best of the best because it is an incredible movie and an incredible follow-up to Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, and an incredible send-off for Caesar's character. However, I have it's not a negative, but I think out of the Planet of the Apes movies that are amazing, this one's probably the least rewatchable, because this one is the most sad and most tragic, with Caesar's family dying, and then you have all the apes getting tortured by the humans. It's really rough material, but it's still a phenomenal movie. The CGI in here, I think, is the best out of all the most recent Planet of the Apes movies. It's absolutely phenomenal. Woody Harrelson does a great job at playing the human villain in here, and definitely probably second best villain in the whole entire Planet of the Apes franchise, the newer franchise to be specific. Trying to think any. Also has Nova debut, this little girl played by Dakota Fanning, I think. She does a great job in here. You also have Maurice get some more screen time, which they do a great job with that character. And they also introduce a new character in Bad Ape, which Bad Ape definitely adds a little bit more humor to this movie for the dark movie it is, and it definitely helps with that and meshed it out well. Steve Zahn voices him, and he was really funny in that role. All the apes I thought were memorable with this, the key apes with Rocket, I forgot what the gorilla's name was, but the big gorilla that sacrifices himself for Caesar later on in the movie. A little bit earlier on in the movie, I should say. And, it goes in best of the best. I can't deny it. It's just, I don't know if I'll rewatch this one as much as the others. And then next up we have the new dog, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. And Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes goes right into best of the best for me. I love this movie. This is right now my favorite movie of the year. Sorry, Dune Part 2. I'm going to say that every single time. But this movie I loved because I'm more of a Planet of the Apes guy than the Dune guy. And, yeah, this one I would have told you were crazy if I would, like, no, no, I wouldn't say that. I would say this is a crazy idea because War for the Planet of the Apes ended things so perfectly for that whole entire trilogy. But they proved me wrong. This was a great follow-up. Definitely, Noah was a good character choice to kind of replace Caesar, but he has very distinct characteristics about him that are not too similar to Caesar, which I definitely appreciated. All the motion capture in here, amazing. All the acting, amazing. The villain in here, great villain. I just wish we saw like maybe a little bit more of him, but he's still phenomenal. Voiced by Kevin Durant, playing Proximus Caesar, and they add a unique spin on him. Probably my third favorite villain out of the newer movies, and the CGI for him is amazing. Probably the best CGI out of all the apes in this movie. They definitely do a great job at using that for his character. Trying to think. The cinematography in here, amazing. All the other side characters I liked. There was this guy named Rafa, I believe. He's the person in the trailer that goes, you haven't seen everything. That ape, I thought he was pretty cool. The only thing that I had really that kind of was a gripe of mine was the character of May. It wasn't a gripe, it was a mixed aspect, because I overall think she's a good character, but I don't know if you're supposed to like her or hate her at near the end of the movie, so that's why that's not, like, number one. Also, and Dawn stays up in my favorite movies of all time. Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes is just my favorite movie of the year so far, so that's why it doesn't outreach Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. But with that being said, guys, I hope y'all enjoyed this toxic tier list ranking of all the Planet of the Apes movies. Be sure to let me know your list down below. And with that being said, guys, I'll see y'all next one, everybody. Peace.